Welcome to Own It, Your Business and Your Life, with Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money, and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty, and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show. Good morning.
Hello, how are you?
I'm all right. Look at that glorious picture on my Momentum screen share.
Yeah, that's very nice. Where does it say it is? The Palm Coast in the United States.
Never heard of it, but it looks lovely.
We like a beach.
Yeah, we do. We're both beach girls.
We like a beach. We're both a bit croaky.
Yes, I know. I've had this thing. I'm not sure if it was the Sahara sand or if it was the lurgy. Everyone's had this coughing lurgy, and I think I've had it as well. But I haven't felt ill. It's been very odd. Yes. So, how are you, and what's been happening in your week?
Why don't you go first?
Okay, be ready for a rant.
Oh, I've got quite long. That's why I let you go first. Go. Good.
Okay. Well, it's not really a long rant. I woke up on Sunday morning with my 30-day challenge going really, really well, having just recorded the Facebook ads part of it, where you make a nice little ad to boost your video you've created about your business. And I found my Facebook ads account had been turned off yet again. Last time this happened was last February, and there were some convoluted reasons why it happened last year. But I went through the pain of discovering again that they don't tell you what's wrong. You have to try and puzzle it out. They keep saying that it's an irrevocable decision. They won't tell you what you've done wrong, and it's irrevocable. And when your business depends on, getting new leads through Facebook ads, boosting your videos, and then when your business also depends on running ads for other people, it's a bit of a body blow. And on a Sunday, of course, it just ruins your Sunday completely.
Yeah.
And I woke up on Monday ready to do battle, and I went into battle, with Facebook ad support, but I was getting absolutely nowhere. And I finally, in despair, put my little plea for help into one of the agency owners groups I'm in, and someone told me about a resource which I'm going to tell you about in Who or What's Impressed. But suffice to say that I am hopeful that I shall either get my ads account back or and I've learned some stuff which I'm going to share with you in the focus session. I've learned some things about what Facebook likes and doesn't like, and about business models. Because first of all, they were saying it was my ads that they objected to. Then they were saying it was my business model. And then I was thinking, I wonder if I didn't have my VPN turned on, and they think I'm, not in England, I'm in Greece, and because that's what happened last year. It was something to do with, they thought my new business bank card was fraudulent because it had been refused because the bank thought it was fraudulent because I was trying to buy something in America. So my bank refused my card, and just at that point, Facebook tried to put a request for payment through, and the bank returned a fraudulent card notice to Facebook. So it's a mess. It's a right old mess, and it's so time-consuming, Judith, I can't tell you. So I've done pretty much nothing else this week apart from wait for the fridge man to come back. It's freezing everything. I've got frozen milk. And there was no water on Monday morning, because I had some people around for dinner on Sunday night. So I woke up on Monday morning with no water, the fridge man due to come back, and no Facebook ads. It wasn't a great day Monday for me.
No, happy Easter.
Yeah, really. Well, it's not Easter here. We've got ours this weekend.
No, I knew that. I helped you realise that last weekend, if you remember. But you still have a foot in our Easter camp.
I do, yes, I do. So tell me about your week then.
Well, today's Thursday and the sun is shining, but last Friday I moved house through biblical rain, and I drove through 6 counties: Kent, Surrey, Hampshire, Wiltshire, Dorset and Somerset. And I did that for a reason, because I was coming down to my new home in Somerset, but I was going via looking at 2 where I might live, one in Surrey and one in Hampshire. And there wasn't actually any rain in Kent or Surrey. It was only Hants, Wilts, Dorset and Somerset. By the time I got to near Southampton, it was driving rain on the motorway, where you think, oh, God, I wish I wasn't here. I'm okay with it, but I hadn't seen, not only had I not seen rain like it for some time, but it was obvious to me that the more westerly I got in England, the more rain they'd had than us in southeast England. And that's denoted by lots of standing water. So having to drive through on local roads, you know, big puddles that you don't know the depths of and that spray everything, and you think, oh shit, if that's bigger than it looks, I'm not sure I'll get through that one, if you know what I mean. And I think what was really disappointing as well, I mean, today is a lovely day, but because it was sort of raining, although I could see lots of soggy clumps of hosts of golden daffodils, there wasn't a leaf on a tree to be seen anywhere, since we've had such a cold few months with snowmageddon and snowpocalypse. So as I was driving west in spring, I was thinking, oh, it'll be pretty. It wasn't pretty. It was wet. It was wet up to ankle deep. It was grey, and there was nothing on the trees to make me think, oh, this is going to be great. So I got here and I was warmly welcomed, but immediately realised that I'm going to be compromised here by a small clutter-filled space, and it was cold. My hostess is Spartan, and she likes the thermostat. She was quite proud that her bungalow is insulated, but actually the next day I went out and it was warmer outside, giving the lie to that theory. But and when I told her that, she goes, I don't know why, because it's so well insulated. Anyway, she likes her thermostat set at 17 and I like mine set at 25.
Oh my god.
So on the second day, under 3 duvets, I came out in my wearing the first night I slept in my nightie, my dressing gown and 3 duvets, and I came out and said to her on the second night with a sort of headscarf on my head, because I find my head gets really cold, I can't bear it, I've got to have some heat. And she magically produced an electric radiator, which has improved life considerably. But for Saturday, Sunday, and Easter Monday, and a bit of Easter Tuesday, which I'll tell you about as this story goes on, in a room that's so small and doesn't have a wardrobe, there's no room for me to unpack, and when I was freezing cold, I thought, oh, I am digital nomading, as you will hear as the story goes on. Digital nomading, like house sitting, may not have my name on it, but you know, this is only my second digital nomad thing, and the last place wasn't perfect. And yesterday, which was, what we see, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, day 6, I got a grip. And the reason I travelled on Good Friday was that by Tuesday morning, which was our Monday in effect because of Easter Monday, I had clients. I had a New Zealand call at 9 o'clock, and I had a Greek call at 10 o'clock. And I would have my bearings, and I would get myself set up, and my computer would be working, and I would be online, and it would all be marvellous. But before 8 o'clock on Tuesday morning, the first working day of this week, we had a power cut. And my hostess says, oh, we haven't had one of those for more than 2 years. Well, in Kent, they were rife. We had them all the time. Well, when you lived in Shoreham and I lived in London, did we ever have any power cuts? No. What is it? Well, then I began to think thoughts about, clearly the rural parts of England are going to hell in a handbasket because the infrastructure doesn't work. And that meant that I had to reschedule those 2 clients, which I absolutely cannot bear. I find it quite stressful having to tell clients that I can't keep our appointment through no fault of my own. My New Zealand client was flying to London or to Europe, was it yesterday? And the time difference is already so difficult with New Zealand that if I missed Tuesday morning, we wouldn't be able to reschedule due to my commitments and hers before she left for New Zealand. Now we're going to do it when she's in London next week, and she's been quite jolly and nice about it, but I really don't like that. And then because of the power cut, I had an enforced, let me see, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 5th day off, which clearly the big you thought I needed. But then I started to think thoughts about powerlessness. You know, whenever the power's out, you can't do anything, as we've discussed before on this call. And funnily enough, I'd sort of expect it more if I lived in Stupa, where the post gets struck by lightning and it's all rather jolly and donkeys and all of that, rather than I'm in a town now.
It's ridiculous.
I'm in a town just off the ring road on the bypass, you know what I mean? Off the A303, which is the major road that goes to the West Country. Anyway, let me have a look here. So, what is it? Anyway, but yesterday I got a grip. Yesterday, I had lots of clients. I had 2 low carbers. I did a small business big magic group. I did a pay what you want. I went to the post office. I cooked, which is also quite a difficult thing because the knobs are all off the hob, so you have to use a pair of pliers. I got a load of laundry on. I got another load of laundry on. I booked my MOT in a new local garage. I had a psychic reading, and my friend Leslie from school with Jenga was on the One Show. So yesterday, I grit my teeth and turned the bloody situation around. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah, psychologically.
Well, you just got to go. I can't sit here feeling miserable for myself one more day. I've got to, try and make sense of this and do some of those busy jobs around the house that make you feel a little bit better about life.
Yeah, yes, exactly. And you could perhaps leave her in a better situation when.
Well, the first morning, of course, don't invite a coach to stay. If the first morning you don't want her to say to you, now tell me about this clutter situation. Is it something I can help you do while I'm here? And clutter, as you know, is quite a complex emotional thing. And then I backed off slightly after that because I thought, well, it's only the first day, slowly catchy monkey. But I'm sitting at her desk now, which we share, and it's an L-shaped desk, so I'm looking west and she's looking north, but we've only got one chair. Fortunately, she goes out to work all 9 to 5 days a week, not in a job, but in lots of different sort of self-employed functions. And actually, funnily enough, I thought I was on Amazon a lot. I'm going to need one of those convector radiators, but she produced one. And then I'm going to need one of those little tiny desks you have in your bedroom. Oh, she produced one of those. So actually, she's quite resourceful. Well, in a house full of clutter, of course, you don't need to buy anything because you already own it.
You just can't find it.
Well, she did manage to find both of them quite quickly, actually. I mean, bless her for taking me in. I love her to bits and I respect her, but more on this topic anon because it's dominated my week a bit.
Yeah, of course. I'm always very unsettled when I go somewhere new.
I think that's the point, Nicola. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
It sometimes takes me up to 2 weeks to be able to sleep all night and feel safe. And so yes, I totally feel you. And Irving and I went away one Easter for a wedding, and we stayed in a beautiful bed and breakfast that we'd found online. And we got there, and there was no hot water or central heating. And we said, never mind, we can tough it out. We can just wash our hair in cold water and wash and we can huddle up together because it's the early days of our relationship, and we did like huddling up in those days. But I'm not joking. By Sunday we were cold through to the bone. Even though we'd gone out for dinner, we'd been Sunday morning we just woke up in the morning and said, should we go home? Because it was just utterly freezing.
Miserable. I totally agree. And actually, I kept thinking when I'm cold, that's why do you live in Stupor? Why do I want to live in St Martin? Because we like it toasty hot. Spartans who have the thermostat hasn't even kicked in at 17 degrees on several days. When the rads come on, it's like heaven. But they only stay on for about 5 seconds because we're maintaining the temperature at 17 degrees here.
Yeah, I know. I used to have mine in my little house in Shoreham at 19, and Phoebe used to come around and turn it up to 21. And
oh, she's right. My dad used to say about the English weather, you don't need to get excited until it's 70 degrees. That's when you can go outside and possibly contemplate getting out a deck chair and sitting on the lawn type of thing.
Taking your cardi off.
Yes, exactly. Taking your cardi off. Well, left to my own devices at home, I like to be barefoot and in a T-shirt. Yeah. And my host here is put some more layers on. Oh, she'd make a good Scots person, actually. I had some...
Yeah, well, Sarah's like that as well. She'll put more layers on and then wrap a blanket round her.
Well, I got my blankie on the back of my chair now because I came to this call thinking, well, I'll need my blankie because if I sit here for an hour, I'll chill down sufficiently, even with the sun coming in through the window, that I'll need my cashmere blankie before very long.
I know. But, last night yesterday afternoon, I was sitting outside in the sunshine in a T-shirt. Didn't even need to take my cardigan out.
Well, brilliant. Yeah. And funnily enough, I could go out now without my coat on, but indoors is a bit chilly. Yeah. And that's slightly annoying. She said, I don't want to work in a sauna or something. I don't expect her to work in a sauna. She's out all day and I can heat my bedroom up with my radiator. What I realised was when I'm cold, particularly my head, I remember being in workshops with you occasionally when in various locations where we always say to the delegates, bring more layers to put on. And I would often have to wear my pink scarf on my head because when my head gets cold, I can't really think. And thinking is what I do for a living.
Yes, you can.
So actually I was quite tearful at some point. I am the queen of positivity. I was desperately trying hard to think of what could be good about this. Let me tell you what I came up with. Possibly your body burns more calories when you're trying to keep yourself warm.
Yep.
Yeah, so that was an upside. Another upside, have you read about something that appears on Facebook now in the last sort of few weeks or months, the concept of the weighted blanket?
No.
People who sleep under weighted blankets feel the benefits in terms of the reduction in their depression.
Weighted blankets?
A heavy blanket, which has been weighted to be heavy. Well, when I was sleeping in my dressing gown, my nightie and 3 duvets, the weight on top of me was quite considerable. So actually my sleep did slightly improve.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because I'm at the stage out here where I only need a lightweight.
Yes. Well, I only brought my lightweight duvet down to the West Country for the summer.
But occasionally, I've got a throw on my bed, and it's decorative, really. But occasionally at night, I've brought it across.
Yes.
Just because I, wanted to feel a bit cozier.
Yes.
And I've always had to take it off again in the middle of the night. But actually, that weight is very comforting.
Well, there you go. It's been proven now scientifically as well. They're actually selling them. And when you look at things people sell, you think, oh, for heaven's sake. But actually, the concept of a weighted blanket grabbed me and it made sense to me, and I've proved it in the last week that the more weight there is on me at night, the more soundly I sleep, because I'm a person who has to get up incessantly in the night for a wee, and I haven't had to do that quite as much since I've been here. There are my two upsides. I might be burning more calories and my sleep might be slightly improved, and when we don't have a power cut, our broadband is much faster than it was in Kent.
Oh, that's good then, isn't it?
Well, those are my three goods. Yeah.
Sorry to hear you had such a terrible time. Where are we? Fueled your fire. Has anything fueled your fire?
Yes, one thing has fueled my fire. I had a slightly strange weekend in a good way online. I had a flurry of, I'll tell you later, a flurry of book sales, which I think I can attribute, and I'll tell you why. Quite a significant flurry, and quite a significant number of people booking themselves into my diaries, sort of potential new clients and pay you what you wanters and that kind of thing, including an email from somebody that said, I had a session with you several years ago and I've been racking my brains about who can help me with the situation I'm in now. And it's you. Do you do one-off sessions? And you think, oh God, are people not reading the material I put out? I mean, how often do I flog my pay what you want? Anyway, I said, yes, these days I do it on this pay what you want basis. And I sent her a link. And I said, but my online diary is offline all week because I've just moved house and I'm trying to get my shit together down here. But if you need it to be this week, let me know and we'll sort it out manually. Anyway, she did. And I did it yesterday. She made a spectacularly generous donation at the end of it, at the upper end. She was my ideal client. We got on like a house on fire. It was an uplifting conversation for both of us. I was on fire at the end of it, put down the phone, and I felt good, I think, for the first time. No, actually, I felt good on Tuesday as well, which I'll tell you about in a minute. But I felt that was my second experience of feeling good since leaving Kent.
I mean, I keep debating this whole, because I had a client who wants to work with me one-to-one. But he's going through a divorce and he's just counting the pennies a bit. So he did sign up I said, sign up for Clicks and Leads Academy, see if that's enough for you. You might not need one-to-one. You might get enough out of that. So he did that. And then he came back and he said, so if I wanted to talk to you on an ad hoc basis, how much do you charge? And I said, well, I don't really do it like that. I want people to commit to a program as such. And, I just thought, oh, no, I can't be doing with it because, I always forget them or I get confused and I say, anyway, it's more hassle than it's worth for me. And but so I do often think about these, ad hoc things, should I offer them? But I think unless you're even more generous. If I was going to do them, I'd charge through the nose for them. But you do it on a pay what you want basis.
Well, no, I don't do all of them. You can buy a consultation at 150, but I do a pay what you want. But actually, the girl yesterday, she said, "I'm very drawn to your pay what you want model," and she saw in it exactly what I do, which is you not only get a session which is remunerated in one way or another. So if I wasn't earning for that hour by sitting here doing marketing, basically. So it's like a sort of bonus. I am doing what I love, which is, sharing what I've learned about being in business in 40 years in a way that's helpful to another human being who might go on to employ themselves. I am gleaning new thoughts and information which will probably turn into, at the very least, a blog post or a Facebook note. I am understanding the 2018 client, so I can't assume a 2018 client is the same as a 2008 or a 1998 client, for instance. There are endless bonus benefits on top of the donation, which she could see very clearly yesterday. You do need to probably be slightly more efficient at the desk with the emails and the online diary than you are, i.e. I'm all over all of those like a rash all of the time. So if they can't book themselves in today, so they can't surprise me because I set up my diary that you've got to book in for tomorrow onwards. So actually it's just win for me. And actually, but when it turns out to be 3 figures rather than 2, that's a whoop-de-doo. And also she did it straight away, whereas some people make me wait a while and I find that quite well, just I'm efficient. I like to tick things off.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so was she. And she had a lovely vision. And I knew she could easily afford to pay me well because she described what she did for a living in the daytime before we got there. So I thought, well, she'd make an ideal client, actually, but we'll see.
Yeah. Well, what's fueled my fire is I found an alternative to recommend all my potential affiliate marketers.
Oh, great news. I was listening to last week's podcast in the Biblical Rain Drive thing on Friday, and you were saying, I'm going to go off and find something I can whitelist or an alternative. You found it in a week. That's good.
I did, yeah. And it wasn't even through recommendation. I there's this, you know about ClickBank, obviously, which is a marketplace for info products. Well, there's another one called JV Zoo, who are huge. And the thing about JV Zoo is they pay you immediately. So if you make a pay, they pay you. You have to wait.
I love that, a ka-ching, don't you? Because then you know you've made a sale.
Yeah, and they are very good as an organisation. And one of my most popular videos is how to fix up JV Zoo to work with Constant Contact, because I did it once, and it was quite tricky. And I'd learned how to do it, and I filmed myself doing it, and it's had 40,000 views or something.
Wow!
I know. So JV Zoo is a big operation, and I did a little search on JV Zoo for affiliate marketing training, and I found out they've got their own.
Oh, great!
I know, and they're just revamping it all, and it's run by this very strange-looking gentleman, but he's quite compelling. Once you get used to, it's a little bit odd-looking, but it looks really good, and it's got lots of really good reviews and all that stuff. And better than that, it's got 6 products in it, so you can sign up and get started at the lower end, and I get paid 50% of that. Then if they buy the upsell, then I get paid 50% of that straight away. And if they go on to, go on and get coaching and things, I get something like 30%, then 20%, whatever, which is quite usual.
Yeah.
And people can get started for a lower amount. And the thing I was worried about, because the person I have been recommending, I know does genuinely make money at what she does. And she genuinely teaches people how to do it in the way she does it.
Yes.
But I also know that there are some people who can't do it her way, and people like me, for example, who aren't very detail orientated.
Yeah.
So I have, I am very happy that not only have I found a good, reputable program, we're attached to one of the big 3 marketplaces, so it's got brand authenticity, and they pay you straight away when you make a sale. So Now I've spent a week now trying to get my affiliate link out of them because their support is absolutely pants. And he keeps sending me to this Facebook group. And I said, no, I need to get the affiliate link out of you guys, and it just hasn't been approved. I've applied for it, but it hasn't been approved. Anyway, so it's still not quite fueling my fire. But then when I get this link, I can assure you I'm going to be combing my site with a fine-tooth comb and redirecting everything. And the good news is most of the time I set up a page redirect on the first person. So all I really need to do is go in and change the name of who I recommend, and then change this one page redirect, and it will go through to the new one. So that has fueled my fire. And the other thing is, it's made me think perhaps I'll go through their training program as well, because affiliate marketing has always been something I've longed to do but never been very good at, because you have to be quite detail orientated. But perhaps I've got time now. I don't know. Perhaps I have.
It's funny, isn't it? Because it's one of those things, and this might be useful to quite a lot of your clients. It's one of those things that looks like a good / easy way to get going with online marketing if you haven't got a product of your own. And in many respects, if you haven't got a product of your own, it's kind of better, because starting from scratch to find an audience for your own thing, which is what we've all done, is hard work, isn't it?
It is. Creators tend to want to make their own product, but the people I know who have made the most money. I mean, I met 2 boys on the cruise who. And I know that they earn this because lots of people have mentioned them to me as people to look up to, and they're making like 20 or 30 grand a month from they didn't even have a mailing list of their own. They were literally driving traffic to affiliate products. But But that all seemed a bit impersonal to me. So, because being a creator star, you need people to recognise you as well. So, So anyway, I'm getting to the point now where I'm starting to think this might be quite good. So I'll let you know how it goes.
Well, don't forget they can recognise you as a successful affiliate marketer. That's the same win.
Yes.
Talking about page redirect, Sarah's already done our site to Radio Public.
Well, I was going to tell you about that in the project updates.
Oh, well, we'll come back to it. We will come back to it. Focus
of the week then. You've picked something from your Loose Women
No, I haven't. I said, why don't you said you're going in the shower? I said, well, when you come out, look on Facebook, as I'm going to, because we need to find something. I found something, but I think you and I will both agree on it.
Oh, okay.
Which doesn't make for a great debate. But let me read it to you, and you can tell me whether or not you think it's debatable. It's from somebody called Erica Blair, who you probably know.
No.
She is in your line of work.
Okay.
And she says, it's quite a short post. She says, paying thousands of dollars. This is the same viewpoint held by James Altucher and you and me, by the way. Paying thousands of dollars, or in my case, hundreds of thousands of dollars, to attend giant lecture-based classes at a university makes zero sense in the era of YouTube and iTunes U. I can understand the value proposition of higher education when it comes to smaller classes where there is actually interaction. There is a benefit to participating in high-level, in-person discussions with intelligent people. But passively receiving information from a lecturer, we're better off doing it at scale, in our own time, at price points that actually make sense in the real world. Information wasn't free when I applied to college in 2003. It is now, and here's the point, but colleges haven't adapted their business model. It is only a matter of time before people start assessing the ROI of a university education and realizing there are more effective ways to reach the same outcome.
Yes, and I hear this a lot because Gary Vaynerchuk talks about it a lot, because he said there's two parts to this. One is that everybody thinks universities are run by the state for the good of the people. And in America particularly, they are businesses. Mm. And they are charging as much money as they possibly can to make as much profit as they possibly can, which, is fair enough.
Yeah.
But people seem to think that they have to go through one of these good, well-named colleges like, Harvard, Yale, blah-de-blah-de-blah, and or they won't get a job. And that is simply not true anymore. Even the big four accounting firms are now starting to welcome applications from people who've got practical experience in the field. And so those businesses have had a stranglehold on education for years and years and years and years, hundreds of years, 100 years at least. And in the UK, do you have any knowledge at all about how universities work in the UK? I mean, is Oxford and Cambridge?
Well, they are increasingly, in my lifetime, the emphasis has gone from the state underwriting the cost of education for people in further education to colleges having to try harder and harder to make a profit. The foreign student still wants to come to England for further education, and it's one of the major contributors to our balance of payments.
Yeah, they pay, don't they?
They do, and they pay through the nose, and to a certain extent they underwrite. This may not be true today in 2018, but it has been in my lifetime. To a certain extent, the fact that they pay full price and more slightly underwrites your local student going. But no, they have to make a profit, or they certainly have to break even. They probably have to make a profit. I'll Google that. I'm not sure. But it does end up being, well, it's costly. My colleagues that went to university, my contemporaries, it was free. But it isn't anymore.
Yeah, and you used to be able to get a grant.
Yes, absolutely. Living. Yeah, indeed. Times were very different, weren't they?
Nelson's an interesting case because he went to college, immediately left school because if he didn't, he wouldn't get a free education. So someone's subsidising that for him, whether it's the government or the foreign students.
Yes.
But then he came out of college and he went off into the world of work for a year, and now he's going back in September. And as far as I'm aware, he doesn't have to pay for that. Now, whether that's because, again, his college is very popular because it's one of the best music colleges in the country. So perhaps they get so many people wanting to come, and then older students willing to pay, that perhaps they can offer younger students who show, because they've taken Nelson back over the time because he did so well in his first 2 years. So
yes.
It's interesting. But
I think what's annoying is how many people younger than me, obviously, are burdened. Well, in America, I think it's awful as well. Burdened by student debt. Yeah.
And Phoebe, to be fair, has taught herself everything about video editing that she knows from YouTube. So
it's ironic that you and I are both putting forward this argument because we are lifelong learners. We do love to use our brains and learn and get cleverer and more skilled up all of the time.
And I've often paid for it because I was
right.
No.
We've paid for all of our learning. Yes, we have.
So on from that, I've learned quite a lot this week about what Facebook doesn't like and does like nowadays, and
Okay.
it's changed dramatically.
Okay.
You know how Google AdWords in the 2003, 2004 went through this whole thing of not allowing info marketers to advertise anything?
Not really, to be honest.
Yeah, well, basically it was called the Google slap, and anyone who was driving traffic straight from a Google ad to an info product opt-in was slapped. You weren't allowed to do it. Then
Could we just stop there for a minute? Yeah. Why on earth would that offend anyone?
Because bad people come in and sell info products that are absolutely rubbish, and they get lots of complaints. And so when Google get lots of complaints, it's hurting the user experience. It's all about the user experience. And what I've discovered this week is that Facebook, because because their amount of space they've got for advertisers is shrinking all the time, the amount of people who want to advertise is growing enormously, and there isn't any more space to put adverts on. They're looking for little nooks and crannies to put adverts on all the time. And in order to get rid of some of the advertisers, they change their rules, and they do put it into their terms and conditions, but they don't announce that they've changed their rules. So it just gets very difficult. And their rules are couched in very vague terms. So I actually do regularly read the terms and conditions, because I have to make sure that clients I take on aren't going to be contravening it. But what I hadn't done was looked at my own website for a long time. And this is so interesting. It wasn't my ads they object to. It was where I was sending people. And that was my website. And my landing pages were fine, because I make sure that I've got a privacy policy on, that there's a link to my homepage, that there's a terms and conditions on my homepage, etc., etc., etc. But the ad that I ran last week, which caused my ads to be turned off, was an ad that I didn't actually have a specific opt-in. I just wanted them to go to my website. Now, when someone went at Facebook, went and looked at my website, there was a number of things they didn't like, and these things I have found out subsequently. One was that I had specific amounts that my clients had achieved from working with me, and you're not allowed to do that anymore. And the other thing I had was
even though it's a fact.
And the other thing was that you need a disclaimer. So if you're going to have any testimonials on with any specific thing of clients talking about success, even if it's a non-specific financial amount, you have to have a massive great disclaimer right next to those testimonials saying, it's ugly. It's a whole paragraph of ugliness.
It slightly spoils the whole point of a testimonial then, doesn't it?
The other thing is that you're not allowed to have time-bound claims. So I had be everywhere online in under 20 minutes a week. And that was a big red flag, apparently.
Oh, God.
So that was my headline on my website. That's what you first see when you arrive in big fat letters. So I've now had to take it off and put be everywhere online and outsource 80% of the work.
Okay.
So it's not time bound. So if you've got the other thing I found out is they don't like info products. The business model of info products is they don't like it. They prefer you to be selling a real life product. Now,
what is a real life product? Do you mean like a pound of cheddar?
A book, Judy.
A book, okay.
No, yeah.
Okay.
They love it if you try and sell a book.
Okay.
And they love it if you give away a book and people just have to buy the postage and packing. But the other thing they don't like...
Oh, and the irony of ironies, in the world of digital, they're totally digital, and yet they're encouraging people to have to pay postage and packing.
And I would have thought a book was a digital product and an info product, but no, apparently it's a physical product. So selling...
Even if it isn't?
No, I know. No, it's ridiculous.
Oh, I hate rules. I'm in trouble already in this conversation. I hate rules.
Anyway, so I went off to have a look at what Frank Kern does, because the one thing that Frank Kern does is he's all over Facebook with his ads of his beautiful children and his beautiful wife, and he sells a book now, apparently. So I've had a look through all of his funnel, and I've also looked at some other people. So I'm getting a feel for what's allowed now, and it was my fault. I just hadn't looked at my own website for so long that I didn't realise I was contravening terms and conditions. So I've learned a lot.
Interesting, actually. Forget Facebook and your issues. How many of us ever look at our own websites in that way?
Well, I have clients who, when you go and ring the phone number that is front and centre of the website, doesn't go anywhere. The other thing I've learned is they hate the word free. They especially hate the word free in capital letters. So if you've got anything in your ad copy, in your description of your video that you're promoting, and I had front and centre it above the line on my V-zine description, download my free book, How to Market Any Business Online Here. So big fat free in capital letters above the line. They absolutely hated that, which is why they turned off all my ads. And it wasn't.
But you've worked this out by process of elimination. They haven't confirmed any of this, have they?
No, they haven't confirmed any of this. I have got a secret weapon, which I'm going to tell you about later.
Okay.
But the thing that it caused my ad account to be shut down so precipitously, normally they will just say, no, your ad's been disapproved. And you have to figure out what's wrong with the ad. And you can sometimes get Facebook's own feedback by going to the chat facility. But what had happened was I'd been piling a V-zine a week into the same campaign because every week I just went and turned off the current week's V-zine, duplicated the ad and put the new V-zine in. So they actually came along and turned off 46 of my ads in one fell swoop and disapproved all 46 of those ads. And that is an automatic account close down. So,
So what's the workaround for that?
Well, the workaround for that is not to put lots of...
Have the same video?
No, it's to have separate campaign each week for each video.
Okay.
Then if they object to one, they're only going to close that.
Turn off one, yeah.
And it's not an automatic account closure. But 46 in one campaign was an automatic.
So does this mean where I offer to give away the first chapter of my book for free, that's something they wouldn't like?
No, well, who knows, Judith, is the answer. I would get on to a Facebook.
I'm not paying at the moment, but I was, and that was a key part of the paying.
Yeah. Well, if you're you'd do better to offer a free copy of your book. It's what Frank Kern does, right? He offers a free hard copy of his book. You pay the postage and packing, and he sells that on Facebook.
I'm not going to the post office under any circumstances.
Listen. What you said, and then when you get there, you can choose to tick, I'd like the digital copy right now, please. And then they're buying the digital copy. They're not buying the hard copy, and you don't have to go to the post office.
Okay, but you would with some, and I'll tell you why I know you would with some in a minute, because actually it's already on my list of things to discuss with you.
So there you go. So I've learned an awful lot about all of the million things I was doing wrong, even though I didn't think I was doing anything wrong. But none of those things are in the terms and conditions, and none of those things have been pointed out to me. And but the good news is that even if you get your account closed down, apparently it isn't final if you can find the right words and do the right things. So I'm now currently working on doing the right things in the right words. And apparently the one thing they really hate is when you get really angry and pissed off and argue with them that you're not doing anything wrong.
But it's so passive-aggressive on their part not to enter into a conversation with an advertiser which is designed to get the best outcome, i.e. you carry on paying them and you are educated so that you don't offend them.
I know, but they don't care about the small advertisers because they've got lots of big advertisers who can't get on to advertise because all the spaces are taken.
Well, I'll tell you something funny. You and I have had various exchanges on the podcast and off the podcast over the last month where I've said, if I didn't need it for my business, I wouldn't be on Facebook anymore. And I sent you the article about Google. You said I've no interest in discussing that. But I two things. One, because you and I are connected on Facebook, absolutely bizarrely and apropos of nothing at all this week, I've seen an ad from Frank Kern. So just you thinking about Frank Kern or looking at Frank Kern means I'm likely to see a Frank Kern advert. Okay, I haven't seen one of those for ages, and I thought, oh, Frank, there you are. I mean, I like Frank, and so I noticed it. I probably wouldn't have noticed it, but and also last Friday I kept saying, and I even wrote it in my newsletter, kept saying it out loud. I don't want to go anywhere near the A303 on a bank holiday. Guess what? Sat nav. I even intended that I would in the last 50 miles. The sat-nav took on my iPad, took me up my word and brought me here through all the back doubles. I didn't go anywhere near the A303. Now, if you don't think they're listening to us and connecting all of this, Google and Facebook combined, then you are bonkers, because I didn't choose not to come on the motorway. My iPad chose not to bring me that way in the end. I didn't notice. I mean, I don't notice much ads. I even have an ad blocker, but somehow I saw Frank go through, probably on my iPad. I'm not sure I've always got the ad blocker on iPad. There's more going on here than meets the eye, Nicola.
Yeah.
And the point is, the ultimate point of this story is the power that they have.
I know. And when I was in quite a state at the weekend because I was thinking,
I bet.
not only can I not get leads from my own business, but I can't when your accounts close. When it's the user they've banned. So they've effectively banned me as a user.
Yeah.
So I can't add any new clients to my biz account, my business manager account. So effectively, they've stopped me from taking on new clients. The only way I could run ads for people at the moment is to log into their Facebook accounts as them.
Yes.
And run their ads like that. And I guess it's not a very satisfactory solution.
No, but typically it is something we've always done in the past when doing things for clients and get their login and be them. Yeah.
But then apparently they know what your ISP is. So you say, you're running the risk that your client's account's going to get.
Yeah.
Because my IP is logging into their.
But wouldn't that be hidden with your VPN?
It probably would, yes. But anyway, I'm just, it's and the thing that it did to me was exactly the same as the thing that's upset you this week. Is it made me feel a complete lack of control in my business, and it made me feel very helpless. That I'm building a business on something that could just shut you off.
Well, there you go. Your word is helpless, and mine was powerless. Yeah.
And apparently that's what all those articles I've read recently about, happiness and depression, because I have read a lot of them over the last year. That's apparently the thing that makes people feel most depressed, is feeling that they have no power or.
Well, it's interesting you should say that, because when I was in Kent, my hostess's son had been a heroin addict for 15 years and went into rehab about 18 months ago and came out clean and came to live with us intermittently and fell off the wagon, and we all worked out what was going on. He had to have rehab again. But funny enough, since I've been here, last night, the actual thought went through my brain, but no wonder people get into drugs.
Oh, really?
Well, imagine, what I mean is, imagine you were cold and uncomfortable and could see no way out, which is only a dark day. It's not, and feeling powerless and not sure what you're going to do about it, and miserable and not sure how to. And I thought to myself, well, what do you want now? If I was a drinker, I'd have a bottle of wine, wouldn't I, to escape my misery? And I actually thought, I could see why this boy, it's the helplessness and the powerlessness. Of course, it doesn't help, does it? But you want to be taken away from those darker feelings.
Yeah, you do. And most people are not taught, as we've had to learn over time, most people are not taught how to control their feelings.
Well, and most people aren't as backboney as me, as strong, as robust as boarding school. Royal Marine's got a lot to answer for, but in a good way. But even I thought, I can't rule out that if something wasn't accessible that would take me away from this gloom, I wouldn't have enjoyed it.
Yes, carbs notwithstanding.
Well, there were terrible carb threats because, of course, it was Easter as well.
Oh, God.
And I'm living in this house, apart from being full of clutter, is full of carbs.
Oh, no.
Yes, and in fact, there's a notebook at my elbow that says, keep calm and eat cake. No! Keep calm and eat a piece of cheese or an egg. I'll have to put out a new, there's an idea. I'll have to put out a new range of low-carb funny notebooks.
Yes, and mugs.
Yes.
And mats and
yeah.
Yes. There you go. There's your physical product that Facebook advertising.
I don't want to ship a physical product. You're having a laugh. I mean, actually, digital nomad shipping a physical product is a contradiction in terms, isn't it?
You're way behind the times. Neil teaches people in his Aussie Online Entrepreneurs to use Amazon, fulfilled by Amazon. So basically, you order stuff from your warehouse, it gets delivered to Amazon, and then it gets shipped from Amazon.
You can tell Neil from me that when I'm a shopper of Amazon, I only want it fulfilled by Amazon, because if it's fulfilled by the supplier, you can wait for the rest of your life for it to arrive.
Absolutely.
And it comes from Hong Kong, whereas if Amazon have already got it in stock, it comes reliably tomorrow.
Exactly, and that's what Neil teaches. Anyway, which leads so perfectly into my word of the week.
Okay.
Which is patience.
Oh.
Because you just said that you hate waiting for things. I am waiting for this blooming fridge man who cannot. Basically, it's not worth his while to make a special trip from Kalamata, so I have to wait till he's got other people in the area that need their fridges fixing. And I've also having to be very patient with waiting for my responses from Facebook. And then I had to wait for the water to come back on so I could wash off after my dinner party. So it's been a week of being patient.
Well, the funny thing is we have to kind of rethink it. You have to kind of go, well, I can't wash up and I can't do anything with my work until Facebook reply, and I can't do whatever your third one was. What can I do instead that stops me just sitting here and feeling bad about it? And I did come up with something, actually. But my word of the week is adaptable. What you need to be when you're a digital nomad. Yeah. How other people live is quite the eye-opener.
Yeah.
Here is very different from my last place, and I've written here lesser. And I felt very sorry for myself, and then I got a grip and determined not to stay too long, but to make the best of it while I'm here. It's not an ideal match here, but then neither was the last place for completely different reasons. So being adaptable is a key requirement of nomading.
I think that is why we all have our own homes, because sharing is lovely, and I've done it. Sharing with the family, you've got no choice really, because your kids have to live with you while they're little. But it is a massive stressor on sharing a property with anybody, no matter how much you love them. And I think that's why we all end up in our own little cubicles eventually.
Yeah, well, in my last house, it was a stately pile. And here I'm in a tiny bungalow. And avoiding each other in a stately pile, excuse me, is a lot easier than avoiding each other in a bungalow. But the good news here is I am alone 9 to 5, 5 days a week.
Yeah, that's great. So, project updates then.
Yeah, so over the weekend I had a flurry of 10 books sold in 48 hours, plus 3 Kindles too. I know. There was a downside of that, which was 5 or 6 people bought it on cells and then sent me emails saying, oh my God, I've just bought a digital book. I didn't want a digital book. I wanted a print book. Can you refund me my money and I'll buy it on Amazon? Which I did. So I spent all weekend processing refunds on cells, which was a little bit annoying in the end, because when it came to the final refund, there wasn't enough money in there to do it, because by the time cells had deducted their charges and I'd refunded everybody the full amount, but cells hadn't. I don't know whether cells repay you their charge on a refund, whereas PayPal do. When you refund somebody on PayPal. So there wasn't enough money left to refund the last person. So I had to get a PayPal address and refund her another way, which was a bit annoying. But actually, I shook my head a bit. I'm grateful for the 10 on Amazon and 3 on Kindle, but I shook my head a bit about people who, and it's not the first time, who've bought the digital one without realizing they were buying the digital one. I'm not sure how you do that, but anyway. All 52 Blogfesters are now published. Yay! With Kate Cocker bringing up the rear at number 52, which is the completion of that part of my 90-day challenge with the Michael Neal book. Although I'm stalled on the book on day 82, and what with the move and everything, too much to do, too little time, I haven't actually finished the book yet, and I certainly haven't finished the challenge because I haven't put them all in the newsletter and I haven't read them all into the podcast. And one, number 35, I think it is, Stephanie, I read aloud 3 or 4 times before the move and it wouldn't upload. And it's like quite a long piece. And you've put all that lovely colour into the way you read it and it doesn't upload. And in the end you think, oh God, I don't think I can perform that one again. But I did it yesterday and I held my breath and it did upload. So that's good, which means I wanted to do them in order. I can go on and finish doing those. But there was something else about this. Oh, yes. And as I've read them aloud and as I've finished off posting their blogs, I'm more inclined to do the anthology of them now than I was when I was deep in the stress. Yeah. And going back to the 10 books sold, I think that flurry, if she's listening, came from Alice, who was number 51, I think. She was either 50 or 51. Alice wrote a marvellous piece, Alice the artist, who's going to be one of our guests next week on our when we're recording number 9, 10, 11 and 12 of our guests. I think because the flurry I can see are all artists and that's her catchment, and she put nice referrals in there. And I think it was the fluffy artists who couldn't see they bought the digital one, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So what you need is someone to go and look at that cells page to see if it's blindingly bleeding obvious.
But it is blindingly bleedingly obvious because it tells you you'll get it in 3 formats: Mobi for Kindle, PDF to read on your computer, and EPUB if you like to read it on anything called iBooks.
So how did they think it was a problem?
Well, I think people who want a print book think a book is a book.
Yeah.
And only then when they get the digital link, they go, oh, I thought it was a book.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, 10 extra print copies have gone out from Amazon and 3 Kindles. Lovely.
Have they? So do you know that they've gone out from Amazon?
Yes. Amazon's reporting is real time.
Oh, okay. I didn't realise that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good then. So you're now thinking of putting the anthology together?
Not immediately, because I haven't finished the rest of these elements yet. Let me get them all read. I'm more inclined towards it. When I was knee-deep in the work of the Impossible Challenge, which frankly has been almost impossible, I bit off more than I could chew there. I bit off more than I wanted to chew by the end of it, which is a bit like running a marathon, when you go through that tunnel at mile 17, you think, oh my God, why did I do this? Yeah. I'm more, once I'd finished posting up the blog posts, which got to be a bit of a faff, and I think maybe explain that massive spike on Twitter, by the way.
What, the blog posts?
I think it might, because when I did be everywhere online with them. So, I didn't just post the blog post. I posted it on Twitter. I posted it on Facebook page and profile. I put it on Medium. I put it in the newsletter. I put it on the podcast. I shared it every time the opportunity came up. I shared it from Feedly. It wouldn't surprise me if that inexplicable spike is due to the 52 Blogfest posts.
I'd be very surprised.
Would you?
Yeah, I would. I think the number...
Well, don't forget that the author is also sharing it to a different audience.
Yeah, but the numbers were so huge, Judith. It just wouldn't be explained.
Well, it's still going on. It's not were huge. That's still 100,000 a month.
Yeah, well,
and it's been several weeks now. But once the impact of the Blogfest ceases, which I only published Kate yesterday, if it drops off, then we'll know.
Yeah, we will. I feel there's something else going on for those huge numbers and that consistency, but I can't tell you what. That's the only thing. Okay, so what project updates? We decided that we'd like to direct people to Radio Public to listen to the podcast if they wanted to, and also because a lot of people struggle with the podcast apps that are available, and Radio Public do offer a really nice little podcast app that doesn't take up too much space on your phone, I've discovered. So that's really good. So I talked to Sarah, and we've redirected the domain, and we talked through all the implications of what might go wrong if we do that. And she said that the website's still there. If you're redirecting the domain, it just redirects people from your homepage. So if anyone clicks a link out on the internet to go to Own It the Podcast /132, for example, 132 is still there, and the player on post 132 is still there and working, because we haven't changed the RSS feeds or anything technical like that. So basically, everyone who just puts in Own It the Podcast will now go to Radio Public. Nothing's broken, and we stand a chance of making some money. But the thing about Radio Public is you only earn money on episodes with no ads in, and we've got a lot of those. So what I thought I might do would be to go and have a look in Libsyn to see what our most downloaded episodes are, our most popular episodes, and change strip out the ads on those first and re-upload them to Libsyn. So
why are we worried about going backwards? Why don't we just focus on going forwards?
Well, we could, but there's a huge back catalogue there.
I know.
Could be earning money for us.
Yes, that's true.
And it's a job for a day where I've got nothing else to do. That's very rare.
Okay.
I could possibly outsource it.
I was thinking that.
I could possibly outsource it. But then, I outsourced a huge job this week, Judith. I can't tell you how big it was. It was a horrible, huge job. It was taking a massive long-form sales page and from an HTML site where I didn't have access to, for a client who wanted to sell personally as well as from this other site, and they had the right to do that. And copy the long-form sales page into a WordPress page and make it look nice. And then to take 12 videos that are on YouTube and 12 PDFs and what is that noise? No, it's all right. I thought it was a very big buzzy thing in my house, but it's not. And to put them on into a password protected, so a little bit like a mini membership site on his site, so we could deliver it. And the bill came back, and it was astonishingly low. I was expecting it to be, up in the $50 to $100 bracket, and it came back, it was $15.
Yeah. And
I was so grateful that it was so little. I must outsource more often. So that's what made me think perhaps I ought to outsource the...
even if they charged us $1 an episode, and we've got 176 episodes, $176 would be worth paying, wouldn't it?
It would, yeah, probably. And because we'd earn from all those episodes.
Yeah, do they have to listen to all the way through to find out where the ad is? Because we put it in different places, don't we?
No, it's always in the middle.
Yeah, but it's not at minute 79. Do you know what I mean? They'd have to listen to find it.
It's usually between 20 minutes. No, it's usually 25 minutes in and 35 minutes in.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'd do that for $1, would you?
I don't know. Well, there might be people out there who would.
No, that's true.
Who or what's impressed?
Well, back to Tuesday, which was power cut day. After my scheduled call, my plan was get up at 8 when my host goes to work, have a shower, be available at 9 for New Zealand and at 10 for Greece. And then I was going to get immediately in the car and go and visit my friend Catherine, who I spent Christmas Day with, but who by the end of January had an inoperable cancer diagnosis. But they have they live in London, but they have a stately pile not far from here, which I'll tell you a story about that in a minute. But so I had to go over and visit my sick friend without a shower. So I hadn't had a shower. I had to get into the car. I had to put yesterday's clothes on top of today's body with today's grubby hair and go over and see my friend, which reduced my enjoyment of it, but they didn't seem to mind or notice. But she'd had this awful diagnosis at the end of January, which puts all of my self-pity about being cold and dirty into perspective. My health, apart from a few little niggles, is absolutely fine, and I'm looking forward to a long life of adventures and opportunities that cause me to be cold and moan included. But my friend impressed me because she's only just started her chemotherapy treatment and her tumours have already been reduced by 25%, which is excellent. And although it's inoperable and although the reduction is good, it doesn't mean there's a cure at the end of this. It means that at the end of the cycle, there'll be a period off. And if they grow back again, she'll have to have the cycle again. But, that's good news. And that a person that you love has to adapt to that sort of diagnosis. I know you've got a friend going through the same thing as well. Adapt to that diagnosis and change their whole concept of their life. So this stately pile that they've bought, which is relatively near here, was going to be their life's work that she and her husband recently retired were going to do up, which is something they love to do. And it's at the old Wiltshire fire station headquarters. So it's like a stately pile with wood panelling, which they've been told I'm sure they didn't pay a huge amount of money for it, but it's an enormous building and it's so beautiful. They've been told that the rebuilding cost is 6.4 million. I told you that on Tuesday. God. But they were in a bidding race to acquire it, which they won. And shortly after her diagnosis, they were driving down to the West Country to go to this place. And I said, "Where are you? I hope you haven't got a sledgehammer in your hand," because that's the sort of thing she would have done pre-diagnosis. They were looking forward to sort of knocking down walls and putting in kitchens and things like that. And she said, "No, but you'll never believe it. The underbidder, who is the person that came second in the bidding contest to acquire these premises, just sent us an email today saying, I don't suppose you'd consider selling it on to me." And he made them an offer they couldn't refuse, and with heavy hearts they accepted it because they know her health diagnosis means she can't take on this project anymore. But what's really, not only is that a miracle, but what's brilliant about that is it won't cost them to get out. Yes, it'll cost them emotionally, but not financially. They'll be able to pay off the bridging loan they've got because their house in London didn't sell. They'll be able to have other adventures that does fit in with their new life post-diagnosis. And the man that wants to acquire it doesn't want to turn it into a home, which is what they were intending to do. He wants to keep it as the offices for his IT business. And that feels better to them that somebody else isn't going to get to live in their dream home. Does that make sense?
All of that's so amazing. Though.
I know. I said to her, and she told me the story, I went, it's like a miracle. It's like a miracle.
Yeah. And they come along few and far between.
And they didn't have to put it back on the market and pay, stamp duty and estate agents' fees and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. This is a private sale, in effect.
Yeah, lovely. Oh, well, I'm very pleased for them. But, of course, nothing is...
No.
Makes up for the
but it does put the whole of the moaning that's gone before in this episode in perspective, doesn't it?
It does, yes. It really does. So what's impressed me? Two sets of people. Well, one person and one set of people. The first one is the chap who wrote the book that I'm learning all this stuff about Facebook from. It's called Get Account Back by Dan Henry. And if you just search for it, I think it's well worth investing $47, as I did, into finding out what Facebook like and don't like. And he really knows his stuff. He's about 12.
It's called Get Account Back.
Yes, it doesn't say get a Facebook account back.
Doesn't roll off the tongue, does it? Get Account Back. Good on you, Dan.
But you know what? That's what people are searching for. But they're searching get Facebook account back.
Yeah.
And
he can't put that in his title. I quite understand. Yeah.
No, exactly. And the other set of people who are impressing me are I live in a little quiet road. It's a little cul-de-sac, and on this side of the road there's 6-8 houses that Elias built, and on the other side of the road there's 4 big square houses that are apartments. So there's 8 apartments in effect, and I've been watching they must be Albanian ladies. They're working their asses off. They're coming in and they're completely spring cleaning every apartment from top to bottom. And they're cutting back the olive trees. They're cutting back the hedges. They're sandblasting the terraces. They're taking all the black mattresses out and beating them on it's very noisy sometimes, but...
I could use them here, Nicola. Yeah. If they do clutter clearing as well, I'm in.
Yeah, but, just knowing that these people who run these holiday lets come in every single year and from top to bottom.
Yeah, I agree. Do it really well. That is quite comforting as a potential holiday maker as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and I've got a friend called Katrina who is English, but she's working for a lady who manages 2 houses that are owned by rich Greek people. And they've been going through exactly the same process. They've been going from top to bottom, cleaning absolutely everything.
Yeah.
And, hard work like that impresses the hell out of me.
Yeah. Particularly hard work that we don't actually want to do and wouldn't ever consider doing, I think.
Exactly.
And the gratitude that there are other people in the world that will do that.
Yes, and that's I've got a cleaner and she comes in and she insisted this week that I took all my sofa covers off and washed them. In fact, she said it'll make it smell lovely. She said in Albanian, which I don't understand, something along the lines of, it'll make it smell better because you've had wood smoke in this room all winter, and they need to be cleaned. And I wouldn't have done it. So in order to she mentioned it last week, and I said, yeah, I'll get around to it. And so this week she came in, and I sit at my computer with my back turned, and I talk to her occasionally, but she gets on with it. Anyway, I turned around this week. She'd taken all the bloody covers off. And
yes, so she's quite assertive, Nicola.
Yes, Albanian Judith. Well, there you go. So that's it for this week.
Okay.
I hope we both have a better week this week. I'm sure we will.
Well, the sun is shining, and that always makes a difference to me. I think it does. I think it's the first time I've seen it for a week.
God, you need to get somewhere where the sun shines every day, though.
Oh, tell me about it.
See you soon.
Okay. Bye.
You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. The podcast is called Own It, Your Business and Your Life. Do come and visit us at ownitpodcast.com. We love to hear your feedback. You can find out more about Judith and visit her on her website at judithmorgan.com, and you can find Nicola at nicolacairncross.com.